that's when we sort of thought, you know what, this could be huge, and this is something that, our sort of mission is around helping guys take on their battle with fat and win.
Welcome back to Lose to Win, the podcast with myself, Jack, Josh, Ben, and somebody very special that we've been trying to get on for a little while, and he has finally joined. It's Rich. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm good. Yourself?
Really good, thank you, mate. Yes, a busy couple of weeks as I've been complaining to everybody else in Manby Fat Bournemouth, but back to some relative normal before a trip to Benidorm next week for my brother's stag do. So
nice.
It's all a bit go at the moment, but it's all good. It's all good. It wouldn't
in
have
the hunt of sunshine, I hope, because we haven't had much of it here, unless it's different on the south coast. But here in Essex, I think we've had 2 decent days so far this year.
Yeah, we've not had a lot, and to be honest, last night's weather was pretty biblical. I don't know, Ben and Josh, if you heard or saw the storm last night, but we certainly got quite a bit of rain last night as well. So it's absolutely searching for sun.
Flooded everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. We're flying out. Me and my older brother are flying out on the Thursday to play a bit of golf first. So it's to collect the keys for the apartment. That's what I told the wife anyway. We'll definitely be on the golf course as soon as we can. Ben and Josh, how are you boys? How's things?
All right, mate. Yeah, good. Having a good week so far. Had a little bit of family drama over the weekend, but I won't go into that. But on the whole, good. Work is busy, life is busy as always. 2 little kids, etc. But yeah, all good. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, been good. Nothing special, not gonna lie. Probably less dramatic. Definitely just plodding along with my usual routine and usual stuff, really. So,
do you know what? It's the first time I've seen you on webcam for a little while. I saw your football the other night, but you have definitely lost a bit of weight, Josh. I can see it in that picture. Definitely. Looking good, mate. Well done.
A couple of others have said that to me when I walked up yesterday. So
there we go.
Lightest you've been, you said last week, mate, wasn't it? Lightest you've been since joining?
Yeah, lightest I've been since joining. Lightest I've been since the pandemic. So
outstanding, buddy.
How much have you lost, Josh?
Oh God, I was 127. I was 109. So
nice.
A little bit. So
nearly 20 k's, buddy.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
awesome work.
So I've got a lot to go though still. So,
Rich, when Josh says it's a quiet week, that means he's going to absolutely smash it on the scales next week. He is a mentality monster with it. A quiet week for Josh is just beavering away, isn't it, Josh?
Is there a milestone on the horizon, or?
There is actually, yeah. I'm on 15%, but there's a few kilo away, like 2 or 3 kilo away. So we'll see.
Hopefully this goes out after. Hopefully this goes out after the upcoming fixtures. Otherwise, the opposition will know what's coming.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't usually. It comes out.
Sorry, mate, I'm giving that away then. Sorry.
No, I don't think I'm hitting it this week anyway. So you're fine. I just won't mention it for the next couple.
They don't see the wink on audio, do they?
No. So, Rich, obviously, I introduced you as Rich to the podcast, but a lot of people won't know who you actually are. So, do you want to give us an overview of who you are, what your involvement with Manby Fat is?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Richard Crick. I'm the head of Manby Fat. So deal with everything from Manby Fat football to Manby Fat soccer, which is going to be launching very, very soon, and all the other sort of initiatives and programs that we have going on at Manby Fat HQ. Been with Manby Fat, or sort of supporting Manby Fat, since Manby Fat football's inception. So was sort of a consultant originally with Andrew Shanahan when the program first came on board. So Manby Fat this year has been celebrating its 10th year anniversary, and I've been involved with the program for 7 years since football kicked off.
Wow. Amazing.
The big cheese.
Yeah, we're right to the top, aren't we? I like the idea of the Manby Fat soccer. If you need any ambassadors to go over to the States, I'll offer.
Well, there's two coaching vacancies open at the moment, Jack. There's 2 coaching vacancies open at the moment. So
does it include relocation?
It doesn't include relocation or weekly flights to Florida, sadly, which is everyone's first questions. But no, it is nice out there, and it's exciting. And actually, we've had a few sort of WhatsApp groups going with declarations of interest from Facebook ads that we've been running over there for the last few months. some of the stories of the guys that are looking to engage in the program over there is just, it's so so interesting, so exciting. Some of the stories are so emotive. We had a guy recently actually email us in who had seen some of the stuff going on in the UK via online channels, and was like, oh, you need to come to Florida. I need this in my life. It's so important to me. I'm recently divorced. I was injured. Since I've been injured, I haven't been able to play sport to the same level. I lost my friendship group and all of these type of things. And we dropped him an email back to let him know that actually we're launching in just a few months' time. And the response we got back was, it was beautiful, to be honest with you. The sort of things he was saying and the impact that he sort of can see it having on his life already is lovely. So to be involved in that sort of stuff on a day-to-day basis through work is so it's a real blessing from my perspective.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Well, we'll keep a keen eye out for it. Josh is actually off to Vegas soon, so he could be your
nice.
handing out some flyers on the Vegas Strip.
Love
West
it.
Coast. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much for that, mate. We will come back to you, but what we'll do now, as is tradition, is go through the Man v Fat Bournemouth roundup, which Josh will do, and then we'll fire over some questions for you. I hope got yourself ready for some good questions coming in. Definitely.
Sounds good.
So Bournemouth roundup then. So we lost 21.6 kilos last week collectively as a group, our 5th 20+ haul of the season, and one which marks the passing of a 200 kilo lost barrier, at least for this season. So 202.6 total as a league, if we're going to be picky. Of course, there are still 4 more weeks to go, so a two-edged sword that offers the opportunity to drive that total even higher, or to see the elusive double ton slip from our grasp, which we're all hoping it won't do.
No,
it won't do. Well, it won't get close with it.
I reckon you get to 250.
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, we were saying that. So looking on the positive side, 300 kilos would be a bold and ambitious target. Let's be honest. 25 kilos a week for 4 weeks. While, as you just mentioned, 250, 12.5 a week seems achievable, very achievable, I would say, given that one. So a modest target of 230 would give us our first ever quintuple Kylie Minogue for the those in the league. So while 276 or just under 20 kilos would mark
about?
You
need to give
him
the
to
info
clarify.
on.
Go on.
Clarify the Kylie Minogues.
Steve has got this weight of measurement he likes to use, as in he gives our weekly stuffing weights of Kylie Minogue, who is I believe 45 kilos or something. So that's roughly how much she weighs. So he does it in that one. So
there's no Kylie and Danny combination or anything. I thought
Sadly
Steve would have been. No, that's how I would have foreseen Steve seeing it. To be fair, but
he might have done the same, in some dreams at least.
Well, anyway, 276 would mark a spectacular 6 Kylie season. So there you go. Maths on that one. So something to bring to mind next time we find ourselves drawn towards a snap draw. Anyway, so the results from last week. So the Yellows unfortunately lost 12-9 to the Oranges. The Blues did the second. Is it the second draw in 2 weeks?
Second draw in 2 weeks, man.
Yeah, 11-all with the Whites.
Yeah.
The Reds lost 11-7 to the Purples, as you continue to roll on, don't you, Jack?
We do.
And then the Greens lost a thumping 17-7 against us Blacks.
Yeah, mad.
So the Purples, Greens, and Oranges. Purples, Greens, and Oranges all enjoy wins, as we mentioned. I can't believe you had a deadlock. I'm not sure that's actually happened, has it really? 2 draws in a row.
What, 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
They're rare anyway. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We got lucky though, to be fair, because we were 2-0 down on the pitch, started a bit slow, and then had some kind of miraculous comeback to win the pitch 3-2. And then drew overall.
Good enough for a draw.
Yeah.
Blues just got to give Billy a poke, and away you go, really, isn't it? He turned it on, didn't he? The second.
Well, yeah, we start a bit. We always start a little bit on the sort of dozy side, and then it takes us to get behind before the kind of. But you see, we're a bit like a sleeping sort of giant, so that when you poke us a little bit, we wake up and then start banging them in. But to be fair, it was a really good game, and Whites played really well. Really good game. So good fun to be involved in. Even though I had to spend the whole game in goal because Tim crocked himself. Thanks, mate.
Well, for you purples then, Jack, that's extending your 100% main league record for an incredible 10th week in a row.
Amazing.
So I don't know if you can make it another perfect season. We've had one before, so
yeah, that's the plan. Certainly, it's as the weeks go on, it's the harder it gets, really, isn't it? We certainly used up a lot of our milestones or hidden milestones along the way, and they're getting thinner, and as we are getting thinner and thinner on the ground. So it certainly is tricky. And you got
a couple up your sleeve for tomorrow night, Jackie?
4 actually, mate. Yeah. No,
it wouldn't surprise me at all, dude.
Wait and see. So it's another podcast derby. They happen more and more regularly, don't they? With more people we get on, it's podcast derby. So yeah, we're thoroughly looking forward to it, and it's always a great game, especially against a team that are at the top of the pitch league with us as well. So yeah, let's give it a go. But Purples are rolling on. We've got 2 new members. We're not sure if they're going to be available tomorrow or not. One's already joined the WhatsApp group. The other we're just waiting. So it could be big numbers in terms of attendance tomorrow. Yeah. So let's see.
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We actually might avoid a ringer because we have a new player as well.
Awesome.
What? Where will these new players come from? They've just appeared out of the ether.
Yeah. They've all been waiting
on a
to
marketing drive.
Start. Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. Beach pod season, Ben.
Yeah, fair shout. Easter as well, don't forget. Everyone's rammed a load of eggs, so they're like, oh crap, I better try and get rid of it.
Absolutely.
An impressive haul of 18 hat-tricks, by the way, last week.
Yeah, that's good.
And all of which, along with everyone else, has a time for at least one more hat-trick before the end of the season.
Yeah.
That's something to fight for. There are 2 milestones to celebrate, with Phil Haley and Michael Burt both earning their 10% awards. Coincidentally, both have lost exactly 12.3 kilos.
I saw that on the message. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, that's bizarre. So they must have weighed exactly the same weight when they joined.
Well done, Ben.
That is a fair competition. I mean,
yeah, very, very good going. Very good going.
Impressive.
With Michael, by the way, he's lost 10.8 kilos this season alone. So he's going very strong.
That's huge, isn't it?
So well done to both of them for such impressive progress to start their careers. Really good going. Race for the top scorer, by the way, remains very close. So with Luke Hayter and Ravnath each on 14 points, with a cluster of players within 1 point of them.
Yeah.
So all to play for. Luke is also second in the list of biggest percentage loss with 9.88%. 3 other players are also in the 9% bracket, while Alex Jones, who's had a sneaky, very, very impressive season.
He has.
Very 10.94%.
He doesn't tell anyone, though, does he?
Yeah, no, this is the thing. He's very, very quiet about it. He's lost 12.5 kilos this season.
Wow.
It's very noticeable, but I said this to him the other day. I said he's done it so quietly that it's been no fuss about it. Just kind of, So
good lad.
Very, very impressive. Mate.
Yeah.
Last man standing, quickly. We lost 2. So we're down to 13. 1 player, sorry, we lost down to 13. 5 of them still have their grace weeks intact. There you go for that one. So
this
still
is definitely the business end, isn't it? This is where it takes a lot slower to drop off, and the guys that are in it for the long haul.
Yeah, tell me about
sounds like you're well set for that
so
250. Sounds like you're well set for that 250. If things are tight, pushes people even harder, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. Team of the week then. So George Howe leads team of the week with a whopping 2.6 kilo loss. It's funny because when he entered the weight room, he said, I asked him, do you think it's been a good week? And he just goes, yeah, maybe. And I'm just like, you've just lost 2.6 kilos.
He's another modest one.
Yeah.
He's good lad, George.
So one of 4 players to earn their place with a loss of more than 2 kilos this week, by the way. So Ryan Broadbank is the only survivor from last week's team. So the full list is George Howe with 2.6, Phil Haley lost 2.3, Sonny Coe lost 2.1, Tim Greenwood lost 2.1, Matt Young lost 1.9, Ryan Broadbank 1.9, Jordan Hayter 1.8, and Micah lost 1.8 as well.
Fantastic.
So an impressive team of the week. Always quite impressive, isn't it? Always over 1.5 kilos.
Yeah.
Absolutely. some returning members in there as well. Ryan Broadbank, second week in a row doing it as well, which is great to see. Great to have him back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. None of the titles are yet decided then, so there's still everything to play for. So it's just about keeping our focus and doing the things that we all have done so far this season that have worked well towards the end. So just got to keep it up. Whether or not our team is kind of still in hunt for honours, we've got collectively multiple Kylies to play for, hunt for more of them. So we just got to keep doing that, really. Be as consistent as we can.
Exactly that,
man.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. That's really good, mate.
Cheers, dude.
How are we both feeling about the end of the season then? How are you guys feeling?
What, with the shake-up coming?
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, to be shaken up? But as seasoned pros as us three are, we've seen it a couple of times now, and it certainly is it's always a positive thing, but it's always quite sad at the same time, isn't it? You've built.
Yeah, I don't know what actually. I haven't really thought about it that much in all honesty, and I think that's probably partly because we've been, we're focusing on the end of season awards, so we've got something else going on at that point. I think it will hit us quite quickly when we get to the point, especially as it's going to be a fast turnaround this time round. We haven't got the friendly week in between, so we're going to go straight from one to the other. I think it will be quite a shock at the end of the season when we go, God, we're into a new team straight away. So yeah, and being busy generally, I haven't really. But do you know what? We spoke about it a few times, and I don't. Excuse me. I think, as you say, we've done it a few times before now, so I think we all know the score. I think we've mentioned it before. It's for the guys that haven't been through it yet, to reassure them that it's okay and it'll all be all right. And we do it for various reasons. And although we were all a bit apprehensive the first time round, now we know it works and we know why it works, and it's all good, so don't panic about it. So yeah, I'm feeling all right, mate. I'm feeling all right. Yeah. Hopefully I'm quite looking forward to the new system that's being used to change the teams up a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out and who my new teammates will be. So looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll be able to find a nice cheap shirt in the colour that I get.
That's what you love to do, don't you?
I love to kit my teams out, man. I love to kit my teams out.
He rocks up with a box full of cheap shirts that he's managed to find for like $1.99 a top. And away we go. So
that's not entirely true.
Challenge every 3 seasons.
Yeah, that probably doesn't do our sponsor partners any favors by saying that, but that's what Ben does every. He does it every season.
We'll edit
season
that
without fail. What about you, Josh?
You know what?
Go on, sorry, Rich.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I mean, in terms of, understandably, I think often for some of the new guys, the apprehension around the draft, because, coming in as a newbie, you've made those new relationships and you've forged those. And then, for some people, okay, they'll have been there for the whole last 2 or 3 seasons. But for some of those guys, they'll have been in for 4 or 5 weeks. They've just started to make those relationships. And then obviously there's a switch on. But just from hearing how you guys talk about each other and talk about how everybody else is in the league and each other's teams, you can already tell that there's a big one club mentality at Bournemouth. It is Man v Fat Bournemouth. It's not just the Purple Rainers or KL Madrid. It is you guys as one big club, and I think that hopefully will reassure people as well, because as you say, there is often that apprehension, but actually I think when you see it as an opportunity to meet new people and make new friends and play in a different way on the pitch, that's all a positive mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I think looking at who we have in the club as well, if you were to say at least 3 core members are going to end up in each team, that helps everybody else again around those newer people, the people that's their first shake up or first draft, as we should be calling it. That really helps that bedding in, doesn't it? You kind of look to those people that have been and done it before and be able to go, let's crack on, don't overthink it, let's go. Because we all know in any walk of football, when you're playing league football, one game week is just as important as the next. So that first game week, if you're caught cold, you're almost a foot behind straight away. So it's really important to hit the ground running in all aspects of it.
I think also it's exciting for some people, and it's also some people kind of need it. Not in a bad way. It's just you get towards the end of the season. I think, there's probably a couple in our league who would self-confess this, that they're probably kind of waiting for the shake-up now, or the draft.
Quite possibly, yeah.
And that gives them fresh motivation and drive. It's kind of both exciting and slightly nerve-wracking, depending on whether you've been through it before. But I think Yeah, I think it gives motivation to those people who maybe have lost a little bit, and then those people who are still at it at the end of the season, like your Purples and that, driving for titles. They just want to win more, and so you just get into a new team. Oh, I want to do it with a different team now, and so I think overall it's a positive.
And obviously, I mean, everybody who comes into Man v Fat football, you seldom decide which team you're put on. So, you know, that could be that you're put into the team at the bottom of the league or at the top of the league. So giving everybody that opportunity to play with different players and people who have different weight loss milestones as well, definitely makes your journey that little bit more hopefully fruitful and different to what it could be otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay. So what we'll do now, Rich, whilst we have you, and I know that you are limited to getting to your own football training, so that's we'll make sure we squeeze everything we can in between. I don't want to withhold anybody from playing football. We've got football at 9:30, so it's a little bit later, but we'll dive in. So the icebreakers that we normally go through is where we want to know, who is your team? Who do you support?
So I'm a Colchester United season ticket holder. And I try and get along to Arsenal a few times this season as well. And I can see that badge emblazoned on you, Jack. So I know that you're sharing in a very positive and exciting season.
Absolutely. And you and I have discussed this several times when I've since we've connected on social medias, and I've seen you be posted about Arsenal or been to Arsenal. It was another big tick in the box, and I can see Josh shaking his head. Honestly, there is gooners everywhere. You can't not meet.
Oh, definitely now, isn't there? It's good. Last couple of seasons, there's a lot of them.
But you know what? That success hasn't done it for City, has it? There's still not that many loud, proud City fans knocking about the UK, I would argue. But
we have one in Man v Fat Bournemouth, and he's proper old school with it. He's even had to prove his credentials of old photos and things like that he shared. So he's been through the hard times.
King Clancy in one arm and Sean Goater in the other, that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got I'm sure he's got a Sean Wright Phillips shirt, he was saying, or something like that. Even players earlier. Dickoff maybe, I think he might have mentioned before as well. So yeah, he's done the hard yards, to be fair, to be a City supporter, but he is the only one I'm aware of anyway. So good news. So another Gooner, but also Colchester United. So you're a Tommy two teams like us. Me and Ben get a lot of sorry, me and Josh get a lot of abuse.
Don't
for
include
that.
me in the two-team nonsense.
Yeah, Ben it is shameful, but if I was just a Colchester United fan, there'd be too much disappointment for one man. So
that's fair, mate. That's fair.
And going along
that's
every
why
week.
Ben's so miserable.
Yeah. Generally, although got to be lots to be pleased about this last week. So sorry to AD for giving Leeds a good pumping 4-0 on Friday night. That was a dream come true.
That was quite something. Yeah, there's our noisy neighbours down the road in Suffolk were
very
quite
happy.
Delighted about that one as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, in terms of your football, love of football, is there a stand-up memory for either Colchester or Arsenal that made you fall in love with them, or made you fall in love with football in generally?
Well, I mean, I've always been a massive football fan. I was watching Arsenal before I was old enough to go out and start going to live football. And growing up around Colchester, that was the logical place to start my journey. When I was at Layer Road, I used to have a season ticket down there when I was sort of 14, 15 years old. And that was one hell of an old school ground. It was the sort of place where you could sort of batter the sponsorship boards, and if a player was going to take a throw in or an away play, you could literally grab their shirt as they went to do it. It was that sort of place. And we made loads of memories there, and we got promoted to the Championship under Phil Parkinson, who's obviously now doing a cracking job at Wrexham. But yeah, I mean that promotion year to the Championship, I think I can't remember if it was League One or Championship promotion we secured away at Yeovil. And it was 0-0, and Southend were the other team that got promoted that year. Right. And it was basically between us and them for the title race. And they are our biggest rivals, although they've sort of been in non-league now for quite a while, and finding it really difficult. And I mean, you don't want to see that happen to any football team, because the sort of stuff that's going on there, and sadly a few other football clubs up and down the country in various leagues. those football clubs should be the heart of their community, and at times they're not able to be because of various politics that go on there. But that championship season, that last one at Layer Road, was pretty special. Sadly, since then it's been all down. Our current chairman came in, I think, about 14 years ago, and we were 10th in the championship at the time. We had Jamie Curran and Chris Iwalumo up top. Neil Dan's in midfield. We had some really nice players. Greg Halford, who went on to play in the Premier League. Since then we changed stadiums, and it's not quite the fortress that Layer Road used to be. And this year we only avoided relegation to the National League on the last day of the season. So it's been a tough season, I think. But we've got the Cowleys at the helm now. Who are an exciting management duo. They've done it before with lower league clubs, so there's a lot of excitement there. My first Arsenal game actually, I think, was at Highbury when I was probably only 14 or 15, and we were playing Leicester that game. Depending on your memory, and I probably only remember this because I was there, but it was the game where Thierry Henry nutmegged Robbie Savage twice in the space of 30 seconds.
I remember.
That I believe was the game I was there. So that was a fine moment, and probably one that Robbie Savage wouldn't want reminding of if we were on TalkSport right now.
That's enough to put a smile on anybody's face, isn't it? Robbie Savage getting a hide in, to be fair. Awesome, great. So what we'll do is we'll dive into some of the questions that we've got around Man v Fat. Obviously, the three of us between us have been involved for a significant amount of time now. I think me and Ben probably 3 years. Is it, Ben?
It'll be 3 years. Yeah, we started in August, didn't we? August 2021. So it'll be 3 years this August. So crikey. So we're in our 9th season. We're going into our 10th season.
Yeah, and each week
we're still fat. So here's the first question: why doesn't it work?
I think between us, we feel like we've seen it all. But each week we turn up and there's something new. I've got to admit, my as you might have noticed, Rich, a couple of haters have in that roundup. My older brother and younger brother have joined. I've managed to twist their arms, and my older brother is the most competitive person you'll ever meet. And he is absolutely devastated that he can't hit 3 milestones in one season. So in that, what he's going to do is instead he's going to hit maintenance in one season, 2 milestones and maintenance in one season. So he'll actually hit 3, and so he's going to go for all 4 just to be Luke, I would say. So he was like, ask him why you can't. Steve's obviously given him the spiel and the corporate line and why you don't do it, but he's like, you've got to ask him. Do it politically, but just ask him. Make sure he mentions it. So there we go, Luke. I've mentioned it.
And and you know what? I can answer it off, and it's probably consistent with Steve, but it's building healthy behaviours. I mean, that's why we celebrate the whole. Whether you've lost 0.1 of a kilo or 5 kilos in a week, you're going in the right direction. And why we wanted to, we would recommend people to lose, a kilo a week if they can, pound a week, £2 a week, equaling roughly a kilo, 2.2 pounds in a kilo. And if you can build on that in a sustainable way, bearing in mind that I think it's 3,500 calories is the equivalent of a pound of fat. So you have, if you've lost a kilo in a week, you've done 7,000 calories less than you would have done previously, or there's been a sort of a calorie deficit from that perspective of around 7,000 calories, and obviously that can come from either a smaller diet or better physical activity. But so to put that sort of strain of a 7,000 calorie deficit on people week in, week out is a very, very tough thing to do in terms of, so we wouldn't want people to lose huge amounts of weight consistently, because that obviously isn't necessarily sustainable for them. So building healthy behaviors is our mindset, and that's why we would say do it over 2, and then obviously trying to claim that next one in the 3rd, and equally why we wanted to put the maintenance process in how it is as well, and the scoring system around that, and making sure that we're making people stay within a healthy BMI rather than encouraging them to lose more weight, because again, it's a healthy behaviors program more than anything else.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure that is exactly what he's heard from Steve as well. But it's an absolute fair point, and yeah, I think he's going to do it anyway. And to be fair, I would say something if he was doing it unhealthily, but he's just a mentality monster with it, and he wasn't a big guy to start with. I think he was above the BMI amount. Obviously, he wouldn't have been able to join otherwise, but he didn't have a great deal to lose. But he's just always been super competitive in anything he does, and he's carrying it on in this, to be fair.
Hey, and it sounds like he's smashing it. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware of the old scoring system, which probably predates Bournemouth, I would imagine. But we used to have almost like a season by season scoring system. So it wasn't that you started with a master weight and then you headed down. It was the fact that you could almost put on weight between seasons, and that was a bit relaxed. And we were then having people celebrate their 5% milestone 8 times, but yeah, they hadn't lost any weight at all. And they were trying to gamify the system to get the most goals for their team rather than put themselves in the best personal position. And that's why obviously we switched across, and the scoring system has evolved a lot in the last 7 years since we've been doing Man v Fat, because as I say, for us, it is about building healthy behaviours, building a good community, and making sure that if people do lose weight, that they're doing it in a sustainable manner and that they can stay within maintenance. So yeah, that's the most important thing for us.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Awesome. Josh, what you got?
Well, I was going to actually, on that note, I was going to ask, could you just give us a rough understand the history of Man v Fat as you know it? Because I have to admit, I've been here for a year and a half, and I don't know. Obviously, it predates, as you saying, you've been there for 7 years. It's been a decade, is it? As we said.
Yes.
So not very much of my life has been involved in Man v Fat, at least, but just curious as to what the history is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Man v Fat as a brand was set up 10 years ago by a gentleman called Andrew Shanahan. He was a food critic by background, and effectively he was getting paid to go out, eat well, and enjoy some wine in restaurants. And sort of write about it. Sounds great, doesn't it? I know. He's a fantastic journalist, and writing has always been his passion, and he's a very sort of creative and ideas man, and comes up with sort of just absolute genius ideas like Man v Fat, and obviously Man v Fat football as well. And effectively he started the website and an online forum because he went along to a local Weight Watchers session, and he found that actually he was the only guy in the room. And I think that week they were talking about how your weight may fluctuate at a special time of the month. And he figured that probably wasn't for him. And you'd go in and you'd be the token guy and all that. Oh, have you lost weight this week? And it just didn't have that sort of camaraderie or community feel that we've hopefully managed to develop at Man v Fat clubs across the country. So effectively, Shan decided to start an online website and a web forum, and that had thousands of guys from across the world basically talking about their own battles with fat, sharing ideas. There was online weight loss groups of 3 or 4 people, and they had a real accountability element to them. I think they used to call them the mafia groups, which I can't tell you the exact acronym at this point, but it was a Man v Fat and something around accountability, and that was the final A. And basically it was each of you doing it together, holding each other to account, and each setting your own milestones. It's like, well, if Ben does it, then I've got to do it, and if Josh does it, then I've got to do it. So let's keep that mentality, and that's obviously something that was preserved within Man v Fat football. Shan wrote a book called Man v Fat, the Weight Loss Manual, still out there and available for people to purchase. And that was looking at lots of different ideas for weight loss from lots of different providers, diets, etc., all just put into one book. So nothing necessarily unique from Man v Fat as such, but gathering all the information that was out there for weight loss and putting it in one place for men to be able to make their own choices. And again, that's a principle that we've tried to keep through Man v Fat football. So whilst we provide recipe books or ideas or weight loss tips, at the end of the day, we don't offer a calorie controlled weight loss meal plan like you would see that's very, very prescriptive with some suppliers, because we believe that actually, if we're holding you guys to account through the scales, you can make your own informed decisions around how you want to lose that weight. So we encourage people to track and keep an eye on what they're doing, but actually we don't give prescriptive diets or things. We give people the information to make their own choices and things that will be sustainable within their own routines or lifestyles. Obviously, The book went really well. The website was really popular, but there were still no slimming groups out there for men. Only 15% of those who get weight loss support in the UK are male, so it's still an 85% driven female marketplace. And basically, Shan wanted to create something in person where we could actually support guys through meeting each other, making a community, and having sort of real physical locations. So the idea of Man v Fat Football was born. Myself, I've worked in public health for the last 15 years. Football as a tool to engage. I used to work at Preston North End, looking at how we could support young people through a creative curriculum and looking at how we use Deepdale almost as a classroom for those young people who weren't engaging in mainstream literacy, ICT, numeracy. So we, would develop lots of different things around football to engage young people on that. So using football as a tool for good has always been something that I've been passionate about. I've been working for Thrive Tribe for the last 12 or 13 years, and Man v Fat is now part of the Thrive Tribe group. And Thrive Tribe basically provide specialist and integrated healthy lifestyle services across the UK. So NHS health checks, smoking cessation, physical activity programs, children's weight management. Prior to that, my background was in the NHS. So I used to work for Ipswich Hospital, covering across Suffolk on a children's weight management program across the county. And effectively, Shan knew my boss, Tim. And I think that was through Emma, his wife, basically reached out to Tim and said, look, I'm looking at developing a program out there for men to lose weight. Shan's got all of the ideas, all the creative elements, but operationally, how do you turn that into a lifestyle program that can hopefully support guys, thousands of guys across the UK and beyond? So Thrive Tribe, so myself, Tim and my colleague Terry all sort of worked in an advisory capacity in very early days of Man v Fat to help shape the program and create what is essentially Man v Fat Football today. And I've been looking after the day-to-day of Man v Fat Football now probably for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's that's where Man v Fat initially came from as an image. The first ever league was, as I say, about 7.5 years ago in Solihull in Foxhollies. It featured on the BBC One show as well. That clip is still on the Man v Fat YouTube if you want to check it out. That was the very, very early days. From there, we managed to get some funding from Sport England to go to communities that were either struggling with weight or physical activity, and we got 20 funded leagues up and down the UK. And then, as I say, the leagues have just grown from there, and we're now 150 locations here in the UK, supporting 8,200 guys. And obviously, we've got the pilots for both Man v Fat Soccer coming up in July and Man v Fat Rugby later this year as well. So lots of thoughts around how we can engage men who maybe aren't interested in the football side.
Awesome. Yeah,
thank you for that. Very comprehensive.
Absolutely
amazing.
Do you have like a history with like any weight loss programs yourself, or is that just something that just curious?
No, so I've never been somebody, I suppose, that struggled with my weight. Physical activity has always been a massive thing for me. So often people would look at me and go, "Oh, you must eat, lettuce leaves only," or something like that. But I'm physical activity led. I eat just as badly as anybody else, I would argue. It's mainly the fact that I play football 2 or 3 times a week. I'm a badminton player. I like to play a bit of squash. I'll occasionally go running. So yeah, physical activity has always been the one that sort of helped me maintain my weight, I would say. More than anything else. But one of the things I think I love about this job is going out and actually speaking to the guys who all have such varied weight loss journeys, and the reason how guys end up at the club in the first place for everybody is really, really unique. I've visited clubs where I've spoken to guys on the side who have struggled with PTSD. They've been, say, come out of the military. They haven't really settled in civvy life. They've isolated themselves. They've put on a lot of weight, and then they've struggled to find a community that they felt was for them. And actually, a guy who I spoke to in the north who had this very similar or that almost exact journey actually he'd never played football before, but he saw the community element of what was happening at that club, and that's what got him engaged with it. And actually, he's been doing fantastic at that club. We've had guys who are agoraphobic who have just seen stuff on Facebook, and a guy who actually watched from a car park, I believe, for a number of weeks without telling anybody he was there because he was so nervous about going to this club. And then, he introduced himself to the coach one week, and then 2 weeks later he came back and registered. And for somebody who had barely left the house in sort of 4 or 5 years, I think, for him to then go out and start playing Man v Fat football on a regular basis, is just life changing. So I think that's one of the most interesting things that I find, is that everybody's reason for putting on weight and everybody's reason for joining is often so unique, but yet everybody else at the clubs empathize with them and want to almost buy into their journey, because you become that sort of one collective essentially.
Yeah, we've definitely got guys in our club that are on that similar sort of what you're talking about, really, certainly from sort of other sort of social and mental conditions that Man v Fat football has helped them to sort of engage with a like-minded group of people. And we've always maintained that that's kind of the main driving force. And certainly from my point of view, and I can probably speak for the other guys as well, that I'd like to say thank you to you and Shanners for having the idea in the first place, because as you say, him going along to a Weight Watchers thing and it not really working for him for various reasons, but I think most of the guys down where we are exactly the same. We've struggled to find places that will engage us excuse me, and things that we can engage with to help us lose weight, and to have this kind of thing to go and get our teeth into and engage with has been life-changing. So it's been fantastic, and hence why we're here doing what we're doing, and trying to sort of drive that narrative and drive the greatness that it gives us to other people, in hope that they can get the same sort of thing out of it. So it's been amazing, and we'll keep going, won't we, boys?
Absolutely. Yeah,
it
means a lot to a lot of people. It really does. And I think without knowing, I could probably bet that it's been a lifeline for some people as well. I think there's an opportunity where, like you've mentioned, I don't think there's anybody of that extreme circumstance and not left the house for so long or whatever, but there'll be things that have happened in such a short period of time for some people, but almost 3 years for me and Ben. We've gone through all sorts. We've had members of the teams lose wives and parents and everything else, and having that community there is just so important. It is so much more than jumping on the scales. It's so much more than kicking the ball around and shouting at the ref. It is really, really important for all of us, and the mental health side of things. I wonder if Shan's thought about the mental health side of it when he was setting it up, or realised what impact that has. Because if it's almost like a perfect mix, isn't it, of the two things? Like you say, he needed somewhere for men to get together and become a community. But did he realise what a community can actually do for a group of men? Having played in like grassroots football and 11 and 6-a-side football for nearly all of my life, I know being around other blokes and taking a piss out of each other and having a good laugh and a beer is therapy. My wife disagrees, but it's therapy. Do you know what I mean? It's the same as swinging a golf club around. Yeah, absolutely. Same as swinging a golf club around in a muddy field. It's it has something about it that it's really hard to pinpoint what it is, but it has that impact. Do you think he had that in mind, or is it a nice coincidence?
I think it emerged very early doors, and I think often when you try and design these things out and we plot the journey and what it looks like, we've been even more mindful actually of making sure that is always at the heart of everything that we do. We rebranded very, very quickly from Man v Fat leagues to Man v Fat clubs, and the one club mentality is a massive thing for us. The drafts are often a controversial topic, but actually being able to get those guys who maybe aren't in a team who they've settled with quite as quickly as some others into another opportunity to be in a different team is another sort of positive of that element. And to make sure that the lifestyle elements, the mental health element, the community element is the most important thing at every club. And as long as that is always more important than the football, okay, we want to go for the football, we want to get on the pitch, we want to get as much time on there as possible, and we want to play football, and that has its benefits. But actually making sure that the club works in a cohesive community manner is the thing that for me gets the most benefit for guys. And I think we often say that it is it's as much a mental health program as it is a weight loss program. And we're actually currently working with a couple of universities to hopefully prove that in a thesis. So we have had some work through the University of Western Australia, which was when we had an small Australia franchise, which was a fascinating story in itself. We got up to 11 leagues out there in Australia pre-COVID, and then COVID put pay to that, sadly. But we're working with a couple of universities at the moment to, as I say, build out more of a base around that. Because obviously we take those very tangible measurements from the scales, but actually asking guys how they are pre and how they are post is a very, very difficult thing to get tangible measures around. And actually you have got to study that in a very different way and try and elicit that information in a different way to people, sometimes putting it solely on forms. So anecdotally, from speaking to everybody, I think often, the mental health side is more important to some of the guys than the weight loss thing. And for me, that's something we should absolutely celebrate. We recently did, again, a plug for the Man v Fat YouTube channel, but we recently did a video with some of the Scottish guys up there, and we interviewed 4 guys to talk specifically around their mental health. And 2 of the guys said that prior to joining their clubs that they'd made attempts on their own lives. And actually the difference that having now people around them on a weekly basis who they can talk to, rely on, and rely on them as well. I mean, it's a sense of purpose, right? It's like, we often guys aren't losing weight for themselves, they're losing it for their teammates, or they want to inspire other people around them. And that's something that I think is just it's a beautiful part of Man v Fat.
It's a real interesting point. Sorry to jump in, Jack, but we've had some interesting things recently because our club's been going for quite a while now. We've got quite a few players who have got into maintenance and are staying in maintenance, who are now battling with the idea of knocking it on the head because for various reasons. But I think there's quite a few of them that I think they've done what they set out to do. They've got the weight off. They're now in maintenance, and they feel like they might be taking up someone else's spot if they don't leave because they're in maintenance. They've done what they've achieved. But I think what you're just saying about the mental health side of it and it being equally important is a strong incentive for those guys to keep going because, having that accountability, having that turning up on a Friday night and staying in maintenance, and also the community side of it is really important for the mental health side of it. So if they do leave because they feel guilty because they're taking someone's space or whatever, that can have a negative knock-on effect for them. And I, for one, would be mortified if anyone did leave and then felt that about it. So I know we urge the guys to stay and crack on, but I think they need to think about that side of it as well, that what will they possibly miss if they do go and have a break or whatever. I mean, of course, some people are just like, there's no point in me being here because I don't need to do it anymore, and they'll go, and that's fine. But for some that might be struggling with it, keep that in mind, that it is equally as much about the mental health side of it as the weight loss. So don't beat yourself up too much.
And I think it's how they consider themselves to be advocates for new guys at the club as well. I mean, so for example, the average BMI sign up across the UK is about 34. So, we're not getting guys who are on that 27.5 line. Okay, we do get guys who are on that 27.5 line when they join up, but the average is 34. So we're definitely getting guys, who some of whom will be in the 40s for their BMI. Often they will come to a club and they will look at some of the thinner guys and go, well, hang on a minute, how is this Man v Fat? And I think that for those guys who have been on that journey and have lost that weight, just making sure that they're mindful of that when they're playing on the pitch is a really important thing, because it's always thinking about how you wanted to be treated when you first started Man v Fat. But bearing in mind that now about 40%, coming on for 50%, I think, coaches of Man v Fat in the UK are guys who have been there and done it on the weight loss journey, and then have gone on to be an assistant coach. And we've invested a lot in the training and the resources to make the assistant coach the role whereby hopefully some of those guys will go on to be the coaches of tomorrow as well. And if, you know, Bournemouth were to ever double league, for example, you might have guys who have been on that journey who you think, do you know what, they relate to the lads really well. They manage to empathise with the guys. They know what they're thinking. They act as motivators and inspirations for other guys. You know, they're perfect captains. They're perfect ACs. They're perfect coaches of tomorrow. But equally, some people who have maybe been on that weight loss journey and hit maintenance, as you say, for them it's that. A, either they need the accountability. B, they don't want to lose the social group. You know, those guys can also get more football through things like Man v Fat 11s if your club is playing that. All of the clubs have, you know, extra spin-off sessions that the guys do. I don't know if the 9:30 tonight is that.
It is, yeah.
That's a spin-off session from Man v Fat guys. So being part of that community obviously does open doors to lots of other things as well. But ultimately, guys have to do what's right for them. And if they feel like, you know, they've been and done everything that they want to within Man v Fat, and they want to go and play mainstream football, for example, and actually that doesn't work out how they wanted to, and they hit the BMI criteria for Man v Fat, they can rejoin as well. So, you know, there's lots of options for the guys there. But I would never worry about taking up somebody's space, because you know what we try and do with Best Endeavours is that if a club is growing and there's a big waiting list on it, then we'll look to accommodate that through a second division or through a different night or lots of things. And you know, we do that at some, you know, Swansea is a great example of that. There's nearly 170 guys playing Man v Fat football in Swansea. I went down there a few weeks ago, and just seeing the amount of lads that walk around, they've got a great relationship with the venue. They're contributing to a lot of stuff that goes on in the local community there, charity wise and things as well. You know, and they're clubs that will only continue to grow and be successful. And you know, Bournemouth is a great example of one of those clubs which, whilst it's a relatively newer club, I would say, compared to some of the clubs that are in season 30, 35, 40, that actually you know, you guys have pretty much grown, I think, year on year, and continue to build out a really good ethos around you.
Definitely. I think all of the Swansea lads actually rocked up to the regional tournaments when we did it a couple of years back at Dorchester.
Yeah, about 5 teams.
They won at City, didn't they? They won at City.
Yeah, a couple of minibuses turned up. We couldn't believe it. Pretty impressive. And then the Newport lads as well. There's a few of those. I know it's having been down to see the guys in Cardiff, I can see that it's a strong program, especially in the south of Wales, from what I can tell. So
Wales is huge, and I mean, even clubs like Merthyr, which have started up, I mean, they've got multiple nominations for this year's awards, and they're a real trailblazer. And yeah, the Welsh clubs seem to just keep growing from strength to strength, which is great to see, and they support each other really well as well.
Yeah, good. Awesome. One question we do have, and I think it contradicts another question we got from the community, but I think it's worth asking. So, are there any thoughts around what more can be done on Man v Fat evenings to help find success? So, such as additional coaches, nutritional planners, eating plans, or anything like that? Is that something that is in the pipeline, or something that's been considered?
Yeah, so we launched the Dugout a little while ago, and I think, you know, from something that's been a learning for us really is that creating a digital resource that needs updating and providing regular content through is a really, really difficult thing to do, just because of often the expense that entails, and us being able to invest. You know, we always sort of want to try and find the line between making the best value for membership and being able to invest in new resources and new opportunities. I think a lot of the clubs are brilliant at almost tailoring out some of those ideas themselves. So a lot of the challenges that are now used within clubs to motivate people for various scoring systems and things have often come from a club and then grown and been tested at a couple of other clubs and then gone and been pushed out across the community. We're really mindful that we don't want to do anything that is prescriptive. So we don't want to do, you know, as I say, like calorie control plans of you must eat that this week. That's just not how we operate, and wouldn't sort of sit within our sort of ethos really. We've got probably a number of resources that are underutilized as well. So things like the Man v Fat Gym, and also the Man v Fat Foundation's mental health platform. I would encourage people to give them a go and try those out, because again, they are resources that are there. Getting stuff that's on the night. Obviously, we've invested quite a lot recently in the assistant coaches program, and hopefully, if I presume you've got at least an AC down at
Josh,
Bournemouth.
young Josh here. He's one of us.
It's me.
There you go. You see, yeah. So, and seeing how sort of that program can continue to grow, hopefully to be even more of assistance to coaches and to the community. On club nights, it's difficult because obviously there's only so much you can do with the amount of pitch time that you get, the amount of coach time that you get. But yeah, we're constantly looking at how we evolve the program. And as I say, in the last 7 years, it's come on significantly. And that alongside also, I think celebrating success is a massive thing for us, and making sure that clubs celebrate success in the right way. And that's why obviously we invest a lot of resource into things like the awards. And other events as well. The Amazing Losers event is something that we only put in place 2 years ago, and now that's sort of the pinnacle, I think, for any Man v Fat player joining wants to be a part of that. I don't know if you guys have got anybody in this year's.
We've got one this year.
Mike Welch.
Super Mike.
Yeah.
Nice. And I mean, that's always a brilliant day. Are you guys coming along to that one?
I'm in Benidorm. It's next weekend, isn't it? I'm Benidorm.
Yes,
or at
12th,
least on the way home on the 12th.
Yeah. So but that's a great event, and that's one, as I say, that everyone aspires to, and the sort of names that we've managed to, George Alacobi was one of our first managers, and obviously his stock is incredibly high at the moment, and he's a thoroughly brilliant bloke who hopefully will do more with us in future.
You've got Paul Parker this year, haven't you?
Paul Parker this year, I can't wait to meet both Paul and Terry Butcher. Those guys, we've been talking to them for a little while, and they're really excited. Terry Butcher actually has been following the program for quite some time, because the Man v Fat Ipswich team play outside Portman Road, so there's an AstroTurf alongside Portman Road,
that's cool.
And they play there. So and they often have guys going into the local Ipswich radio station and stuff like that. So Terry's been tracking it for a while, so I know he's really looking forward to it. And having spoken to Paul as well, he's excited to be there. So we've been blessed really, and obviously Ian Holloway as well.
Another Rangers legend.
Rangers legend, and a thoroughly good bloke, absolutely hilarious. He's and one of the nicest chaps you can meet. Working with Ian was really interesting and really fun.
He's got a few stories, hasn't he?
He's got a lot of stories. He's got a lot of
I've got his autobiography. It's very, very funny and very well worth reading.
Awesome. One more on the kind of about you and about Man v Fat before we jump into some of the community questions we've got from the boys in Bournemouth. It's a bit of double question. So did you ever imagine the success that Man v Fat is now? And in the next 5-10 years, what does success look like for Man v Fat?
So I think we realised quite early doors there was something special in it. And I mean, I remember actually prior to the football program going live and being the thing that we wanted to try and push UK wide, there was actually a Man v Fat style Slimming World style Man v Fat type session in a library down in Weston-super-Mare, which I remember going along to, and I was purely a spectator for that occasion, and that was when I was new to the Man v Fat brand, and I was going to check it out actually for how we could embed those type of services within what we were doing in Thrive Tribe at the time. And from there, I could tell there was something in the brand, and I could tell that there was going to be something special about bringing men together, and I think and having them reliant on each other and accountable to each other, and that sort of gamification element that just wasn't being done through weight loss or through community activities. The Sport England funding that we got, when we were able to push it out to multiple communities and sort of A/B test different things across different clubs, that's when we sort of thought, you know what, this could be huge, and this is something that, our sort of mission is around helping guys take on their battle with fat and win. but worldwide. And I think, you know, that is part of what excites me and the team at Man v Fat HQ about it is that, you know, this has got the potential and the reach to support guys globally. And we very often get a lot of emails from and social stuff from around the world, from people seeing clips or articles or, you know, sound bites, podcasts, YouTube, etc. Of what we're doing and saying, when can you bring this to the Middle East? When can you bring this to the US? When can you bring this back to Australia? So yeah, it's definitely something that we've always been excited about doing. We've been looking at, as I say, going across to the US and hopefully eventually Germany and other European countries as well, who have that affinity with football, but also, you know, have a community of men who would really benefit from joining clubs like yours. So that's where we would like to go. But obviously, for what is effectively an SME, going out and doing that globally is a very, very expensive thing to do. And so really it's a case of, you know, what can we do? And that's why what we're doing in the US are very much soft pilots. So we've got Tampa and Broward, which is just north of Miami, and even just launching them, I mean, getting legal sort of advice around simple things like waivers, documents, pitches, you know, all of those type of things, having to go out and source the facilities, make the partnerships, all of those type of things are really resource heavy. So but as I say, we know there's potential in it, and we know it's something that we want to achieve. So yeah, hopefully, hey, one day, maybe 10 years time, we'll be sat here discussing the warm up to the Man v Fat World Cup.
We'll get David Beckham in there, don't you? Miami, if you're just outside Miami, get Beckham involved.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. If you've got his number, let me know.
Yeah, I'll drop him a text, mate.
Do you know what? I saw a picture. He looked like he was carrying a few pounds the last time I saw a picture of him.
Well, I watched his Netflix documentary, and he hasn't lost any of his footballing ability based on that.
I'm only messing as well. He is a legend in a lot of our eyes. So he's fantastic, and he would be an incredible ambassador as well.
He would, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so that would be what I would suggest is probably the easier questions, Rich. Now you've got some of the Man v Fat Bournemouth questions, and
go for it.
Stu used to look after us, and he would testify that we caused him a bit of a headache at times, and he actually made a special journey down to try and resolve some of the issues that we were able to find.
Oh, don't stress poor Stu out. He's lovely.
We managed any loopholes. We managed to find and do. Yeah,
we've had 10 years of just. Yeah, we've had 7 years of trying to shut those down. It's incredible. It's amazing. You don't realise how wily men are until you try and put a scoring system and some gamification in place.
Oh man, it was rife.
So a few of these I would suggest are loaded, but we'd like to see your honest opinion on them and give your feedback where you can. So Josh, do you want to fire off with one?
Yeah, the first one we've got is a simple one really. If it's kind of money, no object, and time, if there was one change you'd make about Man v Fat right now, is there any? What would it be? If you can...
As in terms of what we would do differently at the club.
Yeah,
yeah. I guess if there's one kind of golden nugget, you go that's the dream. If we could do that, but it costs too much, or if we could do that, we don't have the time. What does that look like?
I mean, for me, I think that guys see the weight loss journey that they go on, and some are, you know, as you guys have talked about it earlier on, very open about it, and some maybe sort of just sneak away doing that sort of element of weight loss on a small week by week basis, and they don't want to make too much of a big deal about it. We know that obviously the impact of Man v Fat goes beyond, you know, 10 kilos, for example, and if we could measure both some of those health benefits, some of those mental health benefits, do a photo capture before and after that people were up for, and basically be able to have, I suppose, a more holistic approach to when people are onboarding and being able to actually invest a bit more time, resource, and you know, there's a million sort of measures that we could take, and obviously even, you know, looking at more medical measures, and you know, stuff like taking blood pressure, taking bloods, looking at, you know, there's so much that you could do that would, I think, better showcase the impacts of Man v Fat. And I think that if we could do that in an affordable and sustainable way for everybody, where actually you had your markers at the beginning of your Man Be Fat journey, and you had your markers when you got into maintenance, the weight you were comfortable with, when you wanted to leave, to really, I talked earlier on about celebrating success. That would celebrate success, I think, in a whole different way, because you can even estimate things like the impact of healthy life years, for example, and added years to the life, and all of those type of things. I think that would be a really cool thing for guys to be able to have, and I think it would also let them view their journey in a different way, and also be even more proud of the achievements that they rack up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kind of brings me on to another part of that, really. You mentioned measures. Have you ever thought about different metrics to use other than weight? Or is it a case that it's too hard to track something else? I mean, I guess in another part of that question is, are there any plans to introduce, say, different scales to give body composition stats, fat percentage, muscle mass, what are things like this that mean you could then track that differently? Or is
so there aren't
money?
No, and there aren't at the moment, and obviously, I mean, we know BMI isn't the world's favorite sort of measuring tool for people, because there are some unreliable aspects to it, and if you're an athlete, then you would obviously measure very high on that BMI scale. I would say that it's very seldom, though, that people are arriving as athletes to join Man Be Fat to then go and lose weight. I think you sort of highlighted, I suppose, one of the things of the reasons why we can't necessarily look at other metrics, and that's because people will try and find holes in them. They will try and find ways to win, and often people will try and manipulate some of those measures to get the best outcome for winning. Now, I think they are few and far between, maybe certainly compared to when we first started, where we would have teams who, when guys would join their WhatsApp groups, they would tell them to wear steel toe cap boots, they would tell them to put coins in their pocket, they would tell them to down 2 liters of water, they would tell them that they had to put on X, Y, and Z under their tops. We've literally had to shake guys down and things fall out of them. These are all true stories. Some coaches will say, play as you weigh, so and that's something that we've tried to instill now, so that guys can't turn up on the first week in their steel toe caps, because if they do, they're not going to be running around the pitch in them. We've worked hard, I would say, to try and make the scoring algorithms as fair as possible. I think one of the things that I'd love to be able to sort of find a way around is the fact that not everybody's maintenance weight is the weight that people are comfortable with. So often people will still have, say, 5% or 10% to lose according to BMI, but actually they're very comfortable within the skin that they're in once they've gone on that weight loss journey, and that should still very much be celebrated. The 5% milestones are put in because they're what the National Institute for Clinical Excellence would recommend as having a medical life impact on someone's health, so a significant health impact. So that's why, for every 5% that you lose, that is a key milestone in terms of your likelihood of not having various diseases. So that's why we based it around those. So there's always sort of some thought process behind why we do those things. But yeah, it would be great to find a measure whereby it was the weight that guys were comfortable with. But as I say, people can manipulate that, and it's not then a fair playing field for everybody. So and we have the only other thing I was going to say, we have had some organizations try and work with us who actually provided like a camera, so they could take a photo of you, they could work out where some of the fat on your body was, and then they can come back in 14 weeks, take that photo again, and they can tell you where those measures have changed.
Wow.
But obviously those things are, I think they were charging something like £25 for the first one, £25 for the second one. And we had 3 or 4 guys maybe take it up, and for them to come out with all the petrol, with the expenses, with their whole evening, to then pay for that just wasn't worthwhile for them. So when we so we do pilot things at clubs from time to time to try and take some of those different measures, but it is a case of, obviously, if you were to be putting in more, then obviously we have to try and balance that out in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned the maintenance side of things. One of the question was around the ability for somebody to stay in maintenance all season and be the top goal scorer, beating somebody that has essentially had a perfect weight loss season, hit the 2 milestones, and still not win the top scorer. What is there any plans? Is that something that's been addressed before? I presume the way you're nodding, it has been. It's something you're aware
Yeah,
of.
it is. It's something that's happened few and far between, I would say. And I think where it has happened, obviously, I mean, both of those guys have had incredible journeys, and I would like to think that the impact for them losing that much weight, both physically and mentally, would go beyond the top scorer. But equally, I think they should both be hugely celebrated, and they're both undoubtedly incredible individuals to get that achievement. I think as and when we have an opportunity to recode some of the system, I think that would be a good opportunity to do it. The way in which our system takes data, and we're still working at the moment from the same system that we launched on 7 years ago. So making changes on that system isn't always as easy as we would like it to be. And obviously you make one change on something, it can knock out 1,000,001 other things. But yeah, there's no doubt that, I mean, both of those individuals should be massively pleased with their own journeys, and should absolutely be celebrated.
I mean, that brings us to the fixture gate. So I'm assuming the system is, because we've had an issue with fixtures in our time. So we've had a team who's always had early kickoffs, for example, and that benefits them, or maybe not. I don't know. Is that something just embedded into the system? There's not really anything you can change about fixtures once they're
they're again, it's not the most nimble system in terms of random fixture generation. When you say that's an advantage to them, just out of interest,
it depends obviously on family commitments and stuff, but given our times, etc., if we were having kickoffs at 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10, if there's one team that's always doing 8 and 8:39 kickoffs, and then that means that there's a preponderance of the other teams doing late kickoffs. So and it shuffles it that way, and that makes it. It's just a question, but
no, and I know that later kickoffs sometimes are frustrating for some people, and equally earlier kickoffs are sometimes frustrating for people as well. I think for some people, the idea that their fixture is the same night every week often is a benefit, but not to everybody. So yeah, it's a difficult one. And I mean, we would often getting actually those prime time slots, pitch slots, which I would probably say for most people is 7 till 9, is really challenging. Actually getting a pitch at all sometimes is really difficult. So we try our best to clutch onto the pitch times, particularly those from Tuesday to Thursday, whenever we can, because they are like gold dust across the UK, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not surprised.
Another question we've got is probably something a little bit easier to look at that doesn't involve a system, is around the rules on the pitch. So things like indirect free kicks and so forth. And I don't know, I'm sure other people suffer this as well, but we have a very frustrating, tiny, thin metal wire that goes across the middle of the pitch because the pitch is divided at other times. Honestly, what's it going to be, like a mil thick, Ben? Do you reckon? Maybe.
Yeah, so maximum 5 mil.
You can almost guarantee it's hit about 15 times a night.
You
just can't believe the chances of it. But that's obviously us individually. But in terms of like the rules and other bits and pieces, has there been any consideration to look at changing anything like that?
So there's a number of rules that we have that are set according to the FA small-sided rules, which are our generally speaking sort of rules that would be rolled out wherever you were playing five-side football. And then obviously some of the rules are set at club level, aren't they? So we have we have like a rule sheet which dictates sometimes which rules are set at the club. So there's a small degree of flexibility on some of those. I guess it's pitch dependent
as well, isn't it? I went to see the Cardiff guys, and they're on a cage, so there's no kick-ins, there's no throw-ins, there's no nothing, and that's hard, brutal, non-stop football. And our pitch, we've got the luxury of the opposite. We've got a lovely big pitch, nice sized goals, we've got everything, but I think there's always opportunity to look at things.
Yeah, and there's clubs that play 5s, there's clubs that play 6s, there's clubs that play 7s, depending on the pitch size, and obviously whether you're in a cage or not, also the size of the goal. So we try our best to get almost like those hockey style 7-a-side goals, whereby, because for big goalkeepers to get down in traditional 5-a-side goals is really difficult. But again, it often goes back to that venue specific.
Of course.
And sometimes, we could jump up and get a bigger pitch and play 7-a-side instead of 6-a-side or 5-a-side, but then you're looking at more player borrows. So actually everything has a different permutation, and often if you move the pitch, you'd get one benefit on one side and then something else would be the frustration. So on a pitch by pitch basis, it's very, very difficult to pick out sort of what people want, but it is often a case of whichever pitch we can get, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm very conscious of time. We're edging closer to your departure time, but so one question I kind of hark back to where I mentioned is a little bit of a hypocrisy within the question, is that we asked earlier, what would you do if you had no restriction in time and money? But one of the questions is, do you ever worry it's becoming more about making money than helping people?
That's an interesting question, I would say, because we're not a wholly profitable company. I mean, we should, in an ideal world, we would love to be in a position where we would be able to reinvest even more back into the community. From when we launched 7 years ago, it was £25 a month. And obviously now for everybody outside of London, it's £31 a month. When you take into account inflation, so if you put that through a Bank of England calculator, we're actually charging less now than we were when we first launched. But sadly, the price of everything has gone up. And we didn't have a price increase for a number of years prior to launching. Prior to the most recent price increase, which I think was about 18 months ago. We're still, to have a weekly sort of to provide the stuff that we do, it's very, very difficult to benchmark us, because obviously somewhere like Slimming World haven't got the costs of losing 6,000 footballs a year, which is how many footballs we get through.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
Slimming World don't have the sort of costs in terms of an insurance premium of insuring 8,000 guys for public liability insurance and things like that. So often I think when people look at, and I would probably say this about all small businesses as well, and take into account whichever small businesses that you would consider that you use in and around Bournemouth, but it's difficult. Thousands of businesses have shut down over the last few years, and we want to be in a position whereby we price it that we're not pricing people out of the market, but equally that we don't want to ever be in a position where there isn't a Man Be Fat or a Man Be Fat community there. And if we want to continue to take it out to new locations and support more guys, we do need to be able to generate a margin. And as I say, we would love to be able to generate a bigger margin and invest more in some of those things that we would love to see there. But to provide, weekly football, the additional elements of the memberships, celebrate success through a number of different events, all of which make a relatively large loss, and we don't have to run as part of the monthly membership, but we want to do to celebrate success. It's not easy, and equally you want to make sure, you mentioned Stu, for example, but all of the team at HQ are absolutely brilliant. I'm absolutely blessed with the team that I work with. And I want to be able to make sure that we're giving them a fair wage as well, in the same way that any of our members would want to go to work and have that fair wage themselves. So in a world that's costing everybody everything more. And I think probably a good example, actually, I mean, Stu travels quite a considerable amount, as do all of our regional team. And often those guys will obviously, to come and do a league visit, will be giving up 2 days' time, have to stay overnight, have to either pay a petrol or a train, which neither of which is particularly cheap these days. And that would probably easily wipe out the margin from that club night just by doing that visit. That club night would probably make a loss. So I think often reflecting on probably what it takes for SMEs to do, and as I say, I mean, I think we're cheaper than a Big Mac meal still on a weekly basis. So if you're going down the pub and having 2 pints, or you're having a Big Mac meal, or you're ordering an Indian curry, or you're listening to, we're probably not. I think Spotify's just gone up to £18 a month, doesn't it? So there's everything that you're doing at the moment is probably more than we would like to pay, and we know that there's loads of things that guys can spend their money on. And ultimately, guys have to decide whether they want to spend that with us or whether they want to spend that elsewhere. And, you know, that's everyone's prerogative. And that's, you know, effectively how business works, right? But yeah, that's, you know, as I say, we try and be as open and transparent about that. But if you benchmark us to somewhere like Slimming World or Weight Watchers, I think they're at about £687 maybe a week. And as I say, they don't have to pay for a pitch, a referee, all of that side of things. You can go and play, you know, your local six-a-side competitions, and they're probably £5 or £6 a week now, which is maybe a couple of quid less than our weekly membership fee. And obviously there's no weight loss element, no additional support on that side of things. So yeah, it's people have to make their own decision as to whether they want to do that. I you know, that's all we can do on that front, really, and try and offer the best value for membership that we can.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
And
am I right in thinking there's some funded groups or clubs with local funding?
Yeah, so about 15% of our clubs are funded by local councils. So where that's where those leagues are open, that means that basically guys get their first 14 weeks free for their first season, regardless of when they start during that season. And then after that, they can become a Man v Fat member, continue to do so if they want to. And I think about 60% of those guys who finish a funded membership go on and take that up as well.
Awesome. Amazing. Excellent. One final question I do have is, do you have any questions for us or anything that you wanted to ask us about what we've done or how Man v Fat Bournemouth is or anything like that? I know Steve speaks a lot.
No, do you know what? I suppose the one thing and something that when you asked me about the membership, what we would like to provide if money was no option, I suppose it's, you know, I was going to say it's always interesting to hear from the community on what they feel that is, you know, or if for example they were to say, oh well, the membership was going up, what would they like to see for it, you know, that side of things. So that would be interesting, I think, from my perspective, is for you guys, what is it that you feel is maybe missing from your club, or what is it that in an ideal world you would like to see at your club?
Yeah, I think I'll jump in. I think the digital side of things, I've dabbled and looked at like the Man v Fat gym and other bits and pieces, and I think anything digital for me, and this is why I think the Friday nights work for me, is that being there physical side of things works great. I think if one thing I think Man v Fat could potentially try and help with is with such a large membership behind us, or behind you I should say, the ability to go and try and negotiate a Man v Fat gym membership discount somewhere, something like at the gym or Pure Gym, somebody that I know is national, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That as a strong backed amount of people involved could potentially help get that discount or get something that benefits everybody instead of a digital offering, a physical and actual offering.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, and we have spoken to gyms across the years. But yeah, I think that's something that probably other people would agree would be a nice perk as well.
Yeah.
Any others from Ben or Josh?
I was interested in, I know that Man v Fat, I know you've only briefly touched on it, but the Man v Fat Touch Rugby is coming out, and I know some of our members are keen on that because they are rugby players by sort of they're chosen, and they've joined football because that was the main option. Yeah. But surely the scope for Man v any sport got to be doable, isn't it? Have you ever thought about any other kind of franchises? Man v Fat Darts, I like the sound of.
Man v Fat Darts. It's making those scoring systems work, and it's being able to have that whole gamification community type element, which is why sort of team sports work better, because everybody clubs together for that end goal, both on the pitch and off the pitch. I think obviously, you know, if things are successful in the US, there will be other sports that it would be logical to take to there. I think the thing we're always mindful of is that getting 40 to 80 to 100 like-minded guys in one place is often more difficult than you would think. So as an example, I mean, when we launched Man v Fat Football in some locations, and we've even had funders come to us and say, well, we'd love you to launch in this place. And this place has a population of 25,000 people, which you think, oh, brilliant, you're going to be able to get 40 or 80 guys in that place. 25,000 people, it's a drop in the ocean. But actually, when you get that 25,000 people and you halve it, because half of them are women, then you're down to 12 and a half. Then you go, okay, well, majority of people who take part in Man v Fat are of working age. Not everybody, but almost everybody. So you can take another third off there. So now we're down to 8,000 people. Then how many people in that area like rugby? Oh, 25% of them are like rugby. Cool. We're down to 2,000 people now. How many of those people are overweight? We haven't even done that one yet. Well, actually, it's 2/3 of the nation are overweight. So, okay, so we're at about 1,600 now. How many of those people are free on a Wednesday night? Oh, half of them aren't. There's 800. How many of them can afford a Man v Fat membership? You're down to 600. And then actually, how do we get those exact 600 people in that population place to take it up and know about it? So yeah, it is. I think often when we look at places and we've got an idea and we say, we are a brand now that I would say are recognised across the UK, but not necessarily known by everybody. And a lot of the reason that the group brand has grown so much is because people are so proud about their achievements with it, and rightly so, and proud of being a part of Man v Fat. So we're really grateful for the fact that people see the value in it and want to spread the word. But yeah, it is difficult getting out to people, and it is difficult. We've got some places in the UK at the moment which should have Man v Fat clubs of 100 guys, but we've just struggled to get traction there due to a lack of facilities or a lack of engagement or whatever it might be. So it is difficult to launch new clubs, and therefore in new sports it makes it often even more difficult.
Fair point. Well, I've noticed we're 3 minutes over your time, mate, so I don't want to hold you anymore.
You can do one more if you want. If we've got one
more, Josh, what have you got, Josh?
Do one more, mate.
I honestly, genuinely,
under pressure now.
You've covered all the questions I had. Don't actually have any further questions for you.
Done. There you go. I've completed it. Look.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and the support you've given us. I know that you've reached out to me about it, and yeah, we're super proud to be doing it. It's not something we ever have done for thanks or anything, but the ability to speak to people like Carl and all the other amazing people that we speak outside of the Bournemouth community has been really good, and we want to keep doing it and keep growing and get a few more of the cogs in the wheels behind the scenes getting on here as well from your team to see what juicy bits we can get out of them and what we can find out. And yeah, it's been really good, and thank you so much for your support as well. It's great.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We're very much looking forward to the awards as well, aren't we?
We are. Yes.
The three of us are all going to be there, so we'll see you there. Are you going to be there? We hope you are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brilliant night. We'll grab a beer and we'll have a chat. That'll be really nice. And good luck. Obviously, I know you guys are nominated, so yeah.
Yeah, we're looking forward.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thoroughly looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
Pleasure.
Enjoy
your game tonight,
great
gents.
to meet, mate.
And you, buddy, and you.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Absolutely.
Come on, you gunners.
See you later.
See you later.
Care,
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, what a top guy.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
He tackled those tricky questions pretty well, didn't he? He's got his corporate lines ready, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Well trained, but yeah, super impressive, and he's given us a lot to talk about and consider, and I think he was pretty honest with it all, really, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It's amazing to hear actually from the inception about where it's kind of gone, and in all honesty, 7.5 years is not actually a huge amount of time in growing a new product like that. And weirdly, when he was talking about the thing on the One Show, I think that's the one I saw. I'm fairly sure, because it would have been we've been playing for 3 years, and I joined up 2 years before the Bournemouth thing opened. I looked for it online and joined, and that was literally like 2 years before our club opened. So that would have been 5 years ago. So I'm wondering if it was that one. I don't know if they've ever been on again. Anyway, I remember seeing it on the One Show, and that's what kind of clicked with me and thought it would be a good idea. But I think it's got to be growing massively, and us doing what we do here is a main, not a main thing, but it's one thing that we kind of push it and advocate it. And if it did go out to a wider audience, then you never know, it could inspire more people to join up and get on the journey.
Yeah.
Rich has said as well, and some other people have reached out at how what we've done is kind of inspired, is blowing smoke up our own arse, but have said, because of we've heard the podcast and we've seen other people doing podcasts, we thought we'd give it a go as well. And he said that certainly had an impact, which again, if we can help one person join this program and it changes everything, if we can help one person find something that they didn't know they loved or didn't know they enjoyed as much as they do, then I'm more than happy with that. I think that's a win in my book.
Yeah.
Awesome. In terms of a little bit of a roundup on other bits and pieces, there's obviously plenty of football happening and happened, but I think if you're okay, Josh, we do a little bit of fantasy football. Did you plan to do some?
Well, I actually didn't plan to do any fantasy football.
We all know you've just got it all ready to go anyway, mate.
I could do it on the fly if you really
Did you want to talk
Exactly.
about, hang on, whoa. Didn't you want to talk about your little fantasy football that you started doing for
Yes.
our
Yes,
Man v
yes.
Fat?
Good
Okay,
shout.
yeah.
I
So
just forgot it again.
I'm gonna have to look it up now.
Come on, lad.
Basically,
We're
I
all
started
interested
doing, and
in
we
this.
mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, about a Man v Fantasy
Yeah.
kind of thing within the Bournemouth only community. So it's basically me just tracking stats on the pitch on pitch side
with your little notes.
Yeah, just noting basically any goals and assists and
Who got the
keeper
assist on that one?
saves and
Who scored that one?
Yeah.
I have to admit I do have to keep asking people. People keep chatting to me.
Especially if
They're
I
on
distract you. Yeah, I've come along and distracted you a few times.
Yeah. So and I've obviously been playing in some of the games, so it's a bit hard to keep track when you're playing.
Most of them last week, wasn't it?
No, not a couple of weeks ago I played a couple of games. Silly me, really. But so I've been tracking that, and I've been putting it into a kind of a new graphic. What I was going to do is just quickly run through the last couple of weeks if I can find my actual graphics.
Whilst you're searching,
fantasy graphics.
I didn't realise that the Chelsea Spurs game kicked off at 7:30. It's an early one, and
yes, it did. Yeah.
As I turned it on in the background, somebody for Chelsea missed an absolute sitter, like an open goal sitter, and I think it's
Jackson,
potentially Jackson. I must admit, I'm not sure. But the tempo of the game has certainly picked up where it left off last time. You know, when they had that, didn't Spurs have 3 players sent off or 2 players sent off and an injury?
So they were feisty. Yeah.
They were playing like the halfway line game, weren't they? They were just basically camping on the halfway line and hoping they could catch Chelsea out, and they did withstand it for quite a while. But hopefully that's brought you a little bit of time. Josh, have you got your graphic ready?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So basically, one thing I do is obviously I track goals and assists. I track clean sheets, and not that we've had any of them in the last couple of weeks.
No.
Saves, but also I do a little bit of scoring around the off-pitch stuff. So that could be whether you've lost weight, whether you've hit a milestone, whether you've hit a hat trick, etc. off on weight, not goals necessarily on the pitch. So that I try and incorporate that, whether you've made team of the week, that kind of thing. So, and there's also a little bit of a jeopardy in that if you've gained weight, I'd take a little bit off your score, kind of thing.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, so most of it is normal fantasy. I say normal FPL fantasy scoring. So for goals, assists, clean sheets, own goals, all that kind of stuff. Then bonuses for like the top scorer per game gets 3 points, as in top scorer points per game gets the 3, and then second gets 2, third gets 1, etc. Almost like a bonus. And then you do like a man of the match, you gets like a pitch man of the match gets 3. And then, as I mentioned, the weight stuff as well. So I actually started in week 8 as a trial. And our team of the week was pretty good. Actually, some clean sheets came in. Do you want me to run through
go on.
scores, or
give us some, go on, give us some people who've hit the fantasy team.
So the fantasy team in week 8, we had Gareth, who had to play the whole game in goal.
Oh, he was outstanding.
And made like 8 or 9 saves and kept a clean sheet. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, madness.
That was actually one week where I did pitch only, and I didn't incorporate the weight as such on that one, unfortunately.
Right.
So he got like 11 points. Then you had Sonny and Dimmy at the back, who both kept clean sheets, and Sonny got an assist.
Nice.
12 and
Good work,
12 and
Sonny.
8. Then it was full of whites for the front four or so. I have to admit, I'm not sure, but I think they played us. I can't remember. I can't remember, if I'm honest. Matt got 2 assists and a clean sheet. Tom got 2 goals and an assist. Dan got 2 goals and an assist.
Bloody hell, you must have got pumped.
And then the last person in that team was Kevin, who got a goal and a clean sheet. So
Nice.
midfielders get
Nice.
1 clean sheet point, just as being generous on that one.
Yeah.
Week 9 had Ryan in goal, who this is when I started incorporating the weight. So he lost weight, got an assist from goal, and had like 5 or 6 saves. No clean sheets. Then you had a back
against
line
us as well.
who
So
played
Gareth
us.
was against us,
So
and
played
Ryan
us
was
fine.
against us. There's a theme there. Goalie of the week.
Luke and Chris, both from your purples.
Two
Luke
purples.
got a goal and 3 assists and lost weight that week.
Nice.
Chris got 2 goals, lost weight, and got man of the match for that one.
Bear in mind, they're both meant to be our defenders as well.
Yes, yeah, I know. That's why they're back, the defenders.
Luke's been
Then your
creeping
midfield.
up. He's been creeping up pitch. He has. I've seen him.
Yeah, growing in confidence with it. He used to loves his marauding runs, and he's definitely growing in confidence with it for sure.
Then you had a midfield of the front 4 different teams. So you had Scott from the Greens, who scored 20
Super
points.
Scott,
He got
yeah.
2 goals.
Nice.
He got 2 goals, lost weight, and man of the match. Then
Well
Micah
done,
scored a
Scotty.
hat trick and got an assist.
Nice.
21. Man of the
Tidy.
match. Billy, 20 points. He got 2 goals, lost
did,
weight,
yeah.
man of the match.
Yeah.
And
Billy
then
the kid.
Ruben, at top, who scored twice with an assist for that one. And then I started incorporating some bench players. So the people who made the top 11 but didn't make the team, as though you've got 11 full team. So myself, you got a goal, 2 assists, lost weight, man of the match. Matt, a goal, 3 assists, man of the match for the second week.
Nice.
Is that Matt from the
Jobs.
Whites?
Yes, Matt from the Whites.
He's an
yeah.
absolute baller.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And then Jogs, 2 goals and assist, lost weight.
Super jobs.
Yeah.
And then Liam,
Good
who
lad.
got on a goal and assist and lost weight that week.
Good
Yeah.
lad.
Nice.
And then last week, we had a couple of milestones, so I incorporated the milestones in that one. So Phil, who was in goal, lost weight, got a save, made the team of the week in terms of weight, and hit a milestone.
Nice.
So he made fantasy team of the week.
Good lad.
Then Luke again at the back, Luke from the purples, a goal and lost weight. Then our Steve from the blacks, who also scored our only goal and lost weight. Jord, your brother Jordan, made the middle with a goal and assist. He lost weight, he got a hat trick, he made team of the week,
Top
etc.
man.
Wow.
Mike
Bag full of points
from
then.
Mike from the Oranges, who got a goal, lost weight, hit a hat trick, hit a milestone
Nice.
on that one. And then George from the Whites, a forward man, he scored twice, got man of the match and lost some weight. And
He did.
then in the starting lineup, we had Alex from the Greens, who got 4 goals and assist, man of the match, and lost weight as it continues. That was against us.
He was like a man
then-
possessed, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was saying to me before how he hadn't scored in weeks, and he was so desperate to break it. And then he scores 4.
Pump for him. Nice. Good lad.
Yeah. And then that bench for that week was Matt again from the Whites. 2
he's in there
assists,
every
lost
week.
weight, hat trick, team of
Yeah.
the week. George from your purples, forward. A goal, lost weight, team of the week. Then
Nice.
Pete from the Greens, a goal, assist, lost weight. And then
Great.
Victor from
Good
the
old
Blues.
Vic.
Yeah, a goal, man of the match, lost weight, etc. So,
Yeah,
With the
good
clean
man.
sheets and the keepers changing
Yeah.
at half time, does that cause you a
so
headache?
what I
that
do with
affects them.
that is
Yeah,
if the keepers change at half time and they keep a clean sheet, I just do half clean sheet points. But if
Okay.
they have any further contribution on the pitch, i.e. an assist, a goal, anything like that, then I wipe it as though they haven't been in goal. So they're just
Oh.
a pitch player, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Nice.
Yeah, fair.
Unless I'm open to suggestions. So if there's a
Oh,
willingness
okay.
to keep a goalkeeper tag and they get half points for a clean sheet, and then they keep pitch stuff as well, and I'll just score it for wherever they
Yeah,
were on
I'd
the
do
pitch at the
that.
time. Yeah.
I think you've made it complicated enough for yourself, mate. Don't make it any worse. You won't
Yeah,
have a
anyway.
notepad big enough. You'd be like a manager on the sideline doing filling notebooks.
Yeah. Well, it's been a
brilliant,
bit
mate.
hard, I have
Love
to
it.
admit, recently, because I mean, goals been banging in. Like
Mm.
difficult
genuinely,
to
a
keep-
couple of weeks
keep
ago,
track
there
of
were
it, mate.
28 goals. Like how can I catch exactly who scored all 28 of the goals, but I think I managed it. So
well
Is
done,
the
mate.
standard
Well,
of
hats
goalkeeping
off for
drop
doing
in,
it,
or?
buddy.
no, not at all.
No, I don't
I think generally speaking, the standard of play on the pitch outfield has been better.
Yeah, this
The
is
standard
another
of
season
defending has
that's
been worse, or the standard of goalkeeping has been any worse.
absolutely. The season's ramped up, isn't it? Again, like
Yeah,
you think that it doesn't get better, and it can't get better, and it really does. So it's it's great to see, definitely.
Yeah, man.
So I will continue with that and see if I can keep it up. If I feel like I can, it will definitely be going into next season as a full thing.
When's the app
The
coming
new
out,
graph, the new graphic.
Get the league going so we can all pick our players.
To be honest, I probably could develop that. But in terms of I've also obviously started doing that graphic for the Man v Fat Bournemouth in general.
Yeah, love it, mate.
So
love
trying to contribute to the Facebook and community and do something like that to update the rest on what we're doing outside of this pod. So just
awesome.
Yeah. Love it, mate. Well done for doing it.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's to be honest, it's my own little passion project, just something I really enjoy doing. So why not?
Good, mate. Good.
Yeah.
Right. If everyone's happy, I think we'll wrap up there. I think there's plenty
I'm
to.
starving. I haven't any dinner, man.
Yeah. Well, I can't eat
slightly early
playing
one.
football, so I'll be hungry by the time 9:30 comes. Josh has got his Huel. Where to do it?
Huel. You both playing tonight, yeah?
Yes, mate. Yeah. You've got to do your it's the fella that endorses that or owns it. The guy that does a podcast, you must know him, Josh Stephen something. The advert pops up on
CEO.
That's it. His advert for Huel pops up on Instagram all the time. It's like, and it's just try it. All I ask is you just try it, and that sticks in my head every time I see somebody. Just try it. I've tried them a couple of times. The chocolate one isn't chocolate enough for me. I don't think my high sugar levels is nowhere near sweet enough for what I'm used to. What is this garbage? But, awesome. All right, I think that's
fair.
A fair.
Well, it's been a pleasure, lads.
To finish on.
Yeah. Good to have you back, Jackie, as well, by the way.
Oh, I've missed you boys. I've missed the routine as well as missing you boys. But the routine, not having a routine, has absolutely killed me. A week in France and a week in Birmingham. Eating out. I think I'd eaten out 9 nights out of the 14, which was just not good. Granted, I didn't pay a penny for it, so I don't mind. But I've eaten good food. I've eaten nice, good food. I've had Turkish. I've had Thais. I've had curries. I've had all sorts. But yeah, it just no good for the waistline or that number on the scale. So a normal week this week and back on it. And let's have a go tomorrow, should we, Ben?
Yeah. Let's have a go, mate. It's always fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. See you on the battlefield, my friend.
You will, buddy.
Have a great night, boys. Thanks again, everybody, for listening.
See you tomorrow. Yeah, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.